Hi guys, and welcome to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today in my swing studio at Drayton Park Golf Club. I've had quite a lot of questions recently on social media regarding the lead wrist position at the top of the backswing, the effect that's having on the club face position, the direction the club's pointing, and how that affects the downswing. And I just wanted to clear up a couple of those points and show you a really simple drill that you can take to the driving range or in the garden, in the nets. With minimal practice, you'll be able to take this to the golf course and actually have a lot more control over the club face. So before we get started, all the social media you need for the TruGolf Academy is coming along the bottom of the screen now. So please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you don't already. Also, the website address is on there. So check those out, as I said, if you don't already. If you do enjoy the content of these videos, give us a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel for free. All the info, again, will come up towards the end of the video. So, lead wrist position. So for me as a right-handed golfer, my left wrist at the top of the backswing. My preference, as I've said before, would be for a flat left wrist, the same angle as my lead arm, and to try and get the club face to match. But I'd much prefer to see more of a bowed left wrist, giving a closed club face where the loft is pointing more up towards the sky, than starting to see a cupped position where the toes hanging down and we're getting an open club face. I find when you get golfers with an open club face, they're having to close that face too much really with their hands and arms. You could, and it is possible, to have a cupped left wrist position, giving you a cross-lined club face at the top or club shaft at the top of the backswing, and reroute it and change your wrist position on the downswing. And of course, there are successful golfers that have a mix of any one of those three lead wrist positions at the top. But I'm getting a lot of questions, as I said, regarding this, and golfers seem to be struggling with contact with strike, with heel contacts, namely getting a lot of shanks. Now, when I do see players who get the club cross-lined and we see this cupping in their lead wrist, generally what happens is their arm plane will steepen on the downswing. A lesser golfer will steepen their arm plane and throw the club out away from them, and we tend to see pulls, fades, slices from there. Some players, often the better player who gets in this position will get their hands moving out away from them, but the club falling behind them. The issue is club face position tending to get wide open, and when these arms are getting out away from their body, it means we've really got to rotate our body and try and speed up our hands to try and square this club face. Often when these arms are getting out away from us, it can lead to some heel strikes unless some other compensations are made. So at the top of the backswing, I'd much prefer to see a flat left wrist or more of a bowed left wrist, and the club more laid off if it's not reaching parallel to the ground. So if we're not making a completely full swing, as again with a mid-iron, I've got a 7-iron here, I think most of us should be a little bit shorter parallel. I'd much prefer to see the club pointing at the wall behind me in what we'd call a laid-off position, rather than ever a cross-line where it's pointing more to the right of the target for a right-handed player. From that position, I think it's much, much easier to keep your hands much tighter to your body, and then you can really turn onto it from there, squaring the club face with body rotation rather than any hands and arms action. So, if the arms are tight to your body, even if the club's behind you, yes, you're going to hit more of a draw from there, but we can still square the club face through rotation. Even if the club's outside of you, you can square the club face from rotation and you'll tend to hit a fade, but you'll strike it well, so you'll generally control the trajectory, the distance the ball's flying, and get something pretty consistent. What I don't like to see is the arms working out here, where it relies a lot on good timing. So the simple drill for you is just to grab a Sharpie pen. It could just be any kind of splint, and you're just going to put it down the back of the lead wrist. So I'm just going to slide this into my glove. So Sharpie pen works pretty well, but it could be a ruler, it could be a couple of ice cream sticks or something like that as a splint. Nothing that's going to dig in and hurt too much. But shove it down the back of your glove or the back of your watch strap. And the idea is that I'm going to get a flat left wrist I can get more of a bowed left wrist here, which I don't mind. What I can't really get with this pen in there is more of a cupping in my lead wrist, so I'm not going to get that club cross-lined. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a few rehearsals. Much flatter left wrist, and I've got that club pointing more at that back wall behind me in more of a laid-off position there. Okay, I think that's a much easier backswing to get this club into the right position on the downswing. Of course, we could, do anything in our backswing and compensate and reroute, but it just makes it harder. So that's the wrist position I'm really looking for. Much, much easier for me to then use my body to release the club. So let's go ahead and hit one. I'm going to click so you guys can see the ball flight as well. Just try one or two shots where we've got this pen down the watch, not the watch strap. I haven't got a watch strap down the glove. Again, just feel that position I want and go ahead and hit it. Just left that club face a touch open, but the strike felt okay. Let's go for one more. We'll come back to the figures in just a second. So I think this is a great exercise and really simple just to take to your practice sessions if you do struggle with a cross-line position, if you do struggle with that lead wrist. Let's give it another go. A little on the heavy side, very similar direction to the last one. And lastly, I'm going to take that pen out and give it a go now that I've got the feeling. So let's hit one more. One more shot. Getting rid of that, just trying to rehearse that position I'm really looking for at the top. All three in exactly the same place. I tell you what, if I'd aimed about 5 or 10 yards left, I'd have been pretty happy with them. So it looks like I'm just leaving the face just a touch more open. Let's have a quick peek through. You can see pretty much on top of each other. Path was very good, so I'm swinging in to out by 1.5, 1.6 degrees. I was just leaving the club face a little bit open. So how I'd counteract that really would be more body rotation. So really that same position, but just trying to feel like I square the club face through rotation. So maybe a little bit more aggressive through the ball. Distance was down on them. So a little bit more speed, a little bit more rotation to square the club face, but I'm not going to be using hands and arms to do it. I'm going to take those out of it and really start to square the club face through body. I hope that video has helped. If it has, give us a thumbs up, as I said at the start. Do subscribe to the channel. Thanks to those that have already. Do post some comments and questions below. I like to try and get round to as many of those as possible. Any videos you'd like to see, happy to have your input as well, guys. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.